All right, I am Felicia Tomasko, and I am here in a live, spontaneous, and insightful and inspiring conversation with Howard Lipp and Ina V. And these are people that I've known for a long time just through the Southern California yoga and sacred music communities. They're people that I have long admired for the variety of the work that they do and the real heart and soul that they bring to everything. So they have a new album coming out, and I'm super excited to share it. So just to tell you all a little bit about them. These are people who craft a unique identity in the world fusion music genre. So a genre of integration, really. They're seasoned singers, instrumentalists, and producers. Ina V and Howard Lipp are becoming an authentic force of nature. And that is not an exaggeration. And that has a lot of meanings to it, too, in terms of this force of nature. They create rich and deeply spiritual musical compositions rooted in sounds of the earth and indigenous culture. By using music as a vehicle for emotive healing, the duo is set to change the hearts, minds, and souls of all their listeners. And just, those words and the ability to read those words and to share them about the two of you is an honor for me. Just like it was an honor to get to listen to a preview of your album that is coming out that we're going to talk about, which has such a healing vibration to it in terms of the sonic quality. And I've been listening to it over the past few days and just found that it has been really helpful with myself personally. Some of the anxiety and challenges and emotional challenges I've been feeling just being a human being alive at this time. So thank you for your willingness to share this work, and thank you for being here in this conversation.
Well, thank you for having us, Felicia. It's good to be here and it's good to see you.
It's
It's a pleasure to
great.
be here, Felicia. Thank you for speaking with us this morning.
Absolutely. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about just the intentionality of bringing this album and this music to the world at this time.
One of the reasons we created this music is because through our own experiences of healing, through ceremonial experiences, which we like to say are opportunities to connect to the great mystery and to connect to our authentic nature, is that the music, the vibration, the resonance has such power coming from the sounds of the plants and the sounds of the earth and the sounds of nature to remind us of our nature as nature and
Mm.
to bring us present to who we are, because it's so easy in this world pre-COVID to get lost in the confusion of all the different things that are calling for our attention, social media in its various forms, and work and challenges in the world. But this past year, with the isolation that has been created, we felt that the best thing we could do is to do what we have been intending to do for a number of years, is bring out the sound of ceremony, which is the sound of an opportunity to open the heart, to ground, to connect to our authentic self, to connect to something greater, and remind us of who we are. Because it's really easy to forget in the isolation and the fear of what this past year has brought on so many levels.
Yeah, it is so easy to forget, right? And one of the things listening to you is that connection is something that doesn't just happen once and then we've got it, right? Okay, I'm all connected and it's all good from here.
I wish.
I wish, right? Wouldn't that be great? But connection is something that we need to repeat, right? Just as we need to repeat our breath, just as we need to repeat our yoga practice, just as anything else. So that repetition of connection is so important. And in some ways, this album, and I'm going to ask you to say the title of it, feels to me like an opportunity to repeat that reconnection and to commit to it and also to have tools to support it.
Yes, exactly, Felicia. The name of our album is Sono Ceremonia,
Mhm.
which we spent some time with really tuning into what we wanted to call this album. We had a number of different titles for it, and we landed on Sono Ceremonia because it really felt like this album is a sound ceremony, and it's a culmination of songs that Howard and I have been singing either together or individually for close to 20 years. This is a love project for us. These are songs that have been sung in hundreds of gatherings, of ceremonies, of sacred ritual, of intention, of healing. A lot of tears have been shed to these songs. A lot of heart openings have occurred to these songs. A lot of releasing, a lot of receiving has occurred. These songs have been sung also for me in the sweat lodge. They've been sung in the synagogue. They've been sung in meditations. They've just been sung in so many places of deep intention. So our album is about half of traditional songs and half of songs that we wrote and created. And we have been wanting to do this album. I can't tell you, well, we've been together 13 years. I could say, honestly, we've been wanting to do this album for 12 years. And so COVID really created this invitation and also a kick from our behind, if you will, to get us to have the time and to invite us to record and finally compile these songs that have such deep meaning for us and for so many of our beloveds in our community and beyond. And it also, I want to say too, when we were creating it last year in the studio, it was our medicine because, COVID has been challenging across the board for all of us. And I heard someone say in the beginning of the year last year, we're all in this together. And then I also heard someone say, we're not all in the same boat together. We're in boats on the ocean together, but we're not all in the same boat. And that was very clear with COVID. We're not all in the same boat. We are as humans, but not in our experiences. They vary. And so for us, our experience was our personal experience with COVID, but then the music and the creating of it, recording, singing, producing, it gave us so much support, so much grounding, so much peace. We were looking forward to nights in the recording studio each time we could work because it really gave us so much incredible insight and purpose. Like we were working on something that was bigger than us, and that felt really good.
And that answers one of the questions I wanted to ask you in terms of your process creating this. Here are songs that have been part of your lives for decades. Here's a project that has been part of your soulful intention for more than a decade. And here was this opportunity when we all kind of went inward to then go inward and then bring it back out into the world. So.
Playing music has been my grounding connection to sanity, to life, to earth, to myself from childhood. So sitting down to actually do this was more about a feeling than a thinking. Mm-hmm. We had created a lot of the skeletons of these songs over the years. But when we started to compile this record, 2 of them weren't fitting at all. We had gone off in an unusual direction. It was more of an ensemble production, and they just weren't fitting with the rest of the flow because the feeling was much more earthy than, say, a rock band, bass, drums, and guitar kind of production. So we had to strip them down to nothing, which was a little scary because so many hours had been put into it, and there's this attachment to, but I worked so hard on it, but it's not working. Mm-hmm. So when it's not working, you just got to start over. Right. And so we did. But the process has really been about feeling how the flow of a sound ceremony, of a plant medicine ceremony, of an awakening ceremony, of a healing ceremony would go, with starting with an invocation, and then the entry in, and then the expansion and the remembering. So as we started to craft that, it worked on us in ways that we could not have imagined. It was quite a bit like being in a ceremony while working on it, which was a beautiful part of the guidance because we couldn't go wrong going for how it should feel, right, as opposed to what it should sound like. Yeah. Then came the part of actually making it sound as beautiful as we could do. But that came quite naturally because there's just something so beautiful about the earthy nature of the sounds that we use, the instruments that we use. Of course, Ina's singing is beyond the beyond. It's just beyond the beyond. You know, her voice stole my heart the moment I heard it, but there was something about what she brings through that was so much more than just a pretty sounding voice. And getting to support that with beautiful music and soundscapes made it quite easy, actually, to ultimately make it sound the way we know it could sound. But it took time to make it feel the way we needed it to feel. And that, will probably speak to more of the challenges that we had around quite getting it right in terms of the flow.
When in some ways that speaks to just, so many different processes that we go through, right? Where the making of something can be a healing journey in itself, as well as the listening of something. And I agree, your voice is transcendent and gorgeous and beautiful and so multifaceted. And I think what your voice expresses is your commitment to your own practices, to your own healing journey, to your participation in the various kinds of ceremony that helps us to connect to ourselves.
Well, thank you for that. And I was going to touch upon some of what you just said as well, in that, the creative process is just like life.
Right.
And it was scary to go into the studio and have some of these songs be fully stripped to the point where we weren't sure if they were going to make it on the album. And also we weren't sure what was going to replace them if they didn't make it. And I couldn't help but notice the parallel with what is going on and what was going on at the time of our recording this album, in that COVID has really been stripping us all away of what is and isn't essential, what is and isn't important, what is our purpose for those who are listening, for those who want to connect with what is meaningful. We're noticing more as a society and as a culture, people who don't have a voice, people who have been marginalized and continue to be marginalized and suppressed and silenced. And so to have this honor and privilege, if you will, opportunity for sure, to spend time in the studio being of service to these sounds and these songs, we didn't take that lightly. We were listening deeply because we know and we knew that our intention was to offer these songs as a way to reach anyone and everyone who was willing to listen. But that meant we had to also listen on a deeper level and put our egos down and put our, ideas about how we think it should end or be. We had to listen, follow, open, cry, let go, struggle, be afraid, face our fears, and surrender ultimately to what came through. And that is a harrowing journey sometimes. I mean, let's be real. It's harrowing. It's not this, we're going to be in the studio and have this amazing journey. I mean, it is, but there's highs and lows. And that's part of any ceremony, and really the ceremony of life.
Yeah, so much about the ceremony of life. And, in terms of you're speaking about the creation of this album, it also, I'm aware that when you're talking about the album, you're also talking about that you created a sequence of the songs in a particular order to mirror kind of an experience that we go through. And you even, shared with me when you offered for me to listen to it, to treat it that same way, to listen to it, from a perspective of kind of an arc of a journey, and not just, okay, here's something in the background while I'm doing my dishes, but here's something to fall asleep to meditate to bring into space. And so the intention that you're looking for people listening to it is to listen to it in order, not just, okay, I'm going to, hit shuffle on my playlist sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with social media now, and also ways in which we consume music and videos and films. It's everything snippets and quick and fast. And we're doing it with 5 other computers on and phones ringing and conversations happening and televisions going on. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but for some people that's a reality. And so to surrender also our intention. We created it in this way for someone to listen to with an intention to open, to go in deeply within their heart, within their soul, within their spirit, to surrender their minds for an hour, you know, and to let go and to deeply listen, not just to the songs, but to allow the songs to be the carrier of a deeper meditation. And of course, people are going to consume this in a variety of millions of ways, and that's, we surrender that, you know. But we do like to share our intention because it's how we created it, and it's years of being in ceremonial and traditional ways, both together and long before we met each other too, working with Indigenous elders and walking different paths of the earth and learning from elders and wisdom keepers and how they teach us to listen from a different place.
Mm-hmm.
We almost consume with our ears instead of listening between the spaces. There's so much there. It's the same with song and sound. There's so much in between the spaces, not just what's coming at me. So to deeply listen in that way is offers so much richness and depth and beauty to an experience. And we'd like to think that this album can support a rich inner journey.
Mm-hmm. When it feels like this is something that we need right now, is support for these inner journeys and support for the future that we're moving into, right? And as we're navigating real places of uncertainty and vulnerability that, you know, for many of us are experiencing right now. So I wonder if you could speak to how you see this music, this sonic ceremony supporting this for people.
Thank you for that question. You know, the beauty of sound is it brings us present right here and right now, because there's no listening to the last note you heard or predicting the next note you're going to hear. It's really about being right with the sound. And that connection of being present in this moment with my authentic nature is the only way I can really survive in a world of uncertainty, because my desire is to be solid in who I am. Yet it's really easy to be pulled into fear of the future or predicting the pain of my past or the horrifying experiences of my past will come forward and become my future, when in this moment there's all possibility, because I'm connected to my authentic nature, because I'm connected to the essence of the great mystery in this moment, where I can't do that a moment ago or a moment from now. So that's the power of music. That's the power of ceremony. That's the power of plants, is to bring us right here, right now with what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you're speaking to somebody and you're just having a random conversation and you lean over on the counter and realize you've just put your hand on the stove. Everything stops and I'm right here, right now for that moment. The sound is intended to do that. It's intended to connect us to our authentic self, because we have so many reasons not to. We have so much pull not to, including our own crazy train of thinking. And that's part of my struggle, and it's been my struggle eternal, which is believing every thought.
Right.
So as I get pulled into right here and now, my mind doesn't have the horsepower to wander off into a million other things when I'm engaged with the sound and submersed or immersed in the vibration.
Mhm.
So that is part of the purpose of it.
Right. And that present moment experience. And even, you know, what you were talking about, Ina, in terms of the spaces between, or the allowing ourselves not just to consume something, but to have awareness of it, right? We talk about mindful eating and tasting our food, and we could apply the same thing to this kind of sonic experience. We're not just consuming all the things that come at us, but how are we really imbibing them? How are we taking them in? How are we tasting them? How are we feeling them? How are we having that mindful experience of our own experience?
Yes, as you were speaking, years ago I used to be a macrobiotic chef,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my many lives, and we used to say, chew your liquids and um, drink your solids. So we're not just gulping down liquids, right? We're allowing the saliva in the mouth to digest, and we're rolling it around in our mouth. We're not just gulp, gulp, gulp. And also with our solids, that we're chewing our solids enough to where they actually become liquid before we swallow. I mean, I don't do that, but I try to keep that in mind to some degree. That I'm not just one, two, chew, swallow. And it's the same with music. It's like, oh, next, oh, next, no, no. I mean, obviously there's preference and what we are drawn towards and what we like or don't. But sometimes in ceremonial context, in a ceremonial context, there are sounds of music that are hard to hear
Mhm.
because they are tools of opening, and
Mhm.
sometimes the ego and the patterns of our interior world doesn't like to hear that because it's poking at something. But if we stay with it, especially with something that's not harmful to us, that's really there to support us opening, then we can break through and we can have a transformational experience. We can, as Howard often says, don't leave before the miracle has occurred, right? So that is important, I think, in the world of so much sensory overload. Everything is so fast. Um, Learning how to have discernment with what we ingest, how we ingest images, sounds, relationships, conversations, where we're putting our attention. And with intentional sound and with healing sound, that intention and the chords that we use, the vibration, the rhythm, it's all intended to create openings, to
Yeah.
create healing, to create our attention to go within to our authentic essence, who we are. So much of this year with COVID has been asking that question. Who am I? Who are you? What do you have to say? How are you? Where are you at with everything? And sometimes those questions are painful and challenging to answer because it's just too much.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need to say right now, how are you right now? How am I right here? I'm okay right now. Okay. I'm okay here and now. And I can listen to my body and I can listen to my breath and I can listen to the nature around me and the sounds that are grounding me in. That's what music does too. This music for us, that does that. It grounds us in the moment.
Well, and that's so beautifully said and expressed. And I think no matter what is happening in the world, we we need that. We long for that. And there are so many things that are these temptations for distractions, or we develop the skill of being distracted, or we develop the skill of believing our thoughts, some of which are not, useful for our belief or some, right? And so this is a skill for us to develop, the skill of going inward, the skill of healing. And sometimes we need tools to support that skill building.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yes.
It's true. As you had mentioned earlier, and I don't think I actually directly answered the question about, how often do you need to be reminded of who you are?
mhm.
Daily and sometimes hourly. And when it really gets up against the wall, every minute I need to remind myself. And
Sometimes every second.
sometimes every second. It's like they told me when I first got sober, right? One moment at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. So it's a practice to remember,
Yes.
to connect when I'm pulled sideways, because it's very easy to get pulled a little sideways and just go off on a tangent and I'm gone. And that's where the practice comes in. I don't have to, when the thought comes in, take off on the tangent. I can just look at the thought and I can actually question the thought.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could question my thoughts. So I believed for a long time that my mind was torturing me and that I was completely incapable of doing something about it, when in fact I was allowing it to torture me. It wasn't torturing me. I was entertaining every negative
Right.
thought that it had and creating and running into a story about it. And here I am a month or 2 months down the road, and obviously all hell is broken loose and everything is burning. And I'm going, oh my God. When in fact it was just a thought that cascaded into an avalanche of
Mhm.
terror and catastrophe because I have an awfulizer in here sometimes.
Well, and that's a skill that, we as humans develop. So it is the supporting this other skill of, what is it to turn down the awfulizer? What is it to start listening differently? And music that creates that support, right? Because what I'm hearing too, and what I feel is we need support. And how do we support those kinds of things? How do we ask for help? How do we ask for help? How do we come to places of community? And how do we seek out that support? So I think everybody who watches this video needs to buy this album so that it is part of your support system of something to listen to. When you feel off center, off kilter, you need to come home. Something to listen to as you're laying in bed, and the awfulizer might be sending out these signals, or we might be rolling with the anxiety of the day, or we might be falling asleep in front of a visual screen, which we have learned is not really great for our eyes or our brain or our sleep, the quality of our sleep. So I encourage all of you to buy this album as part of your support system. And for both of you, a lot of the work that you're doing in the world involves, these areas of support. What is it to support transformation? What is it to support teaching? And I know you've been out teaching more around some of these topics of going inward, around some of these topics of healing, around some of these topics of using music as a form of medicine, around some of these topics of gathering together in person or virtually or whatever is available. And the support that you and your work offers is so valuable. And the work that you've done to be in this place of being a conduit for that is something that's inspiring.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, Felicia.
It's very sweet of you to say.
It really is. And I appreciate that reflection. It touches me deeply, and I take that in. And I also want to offer too that I'm in constant process, that life is constantly teaching and healing and revealing. So there's no arrival. Howard and I both have our personal stories of trauma, abuse, mental health, addiction, oppression, dogma, all the things that make up living the life of humanity, of being human. And we came both to find different tools, community practices that help us both, that there isn't one tool, that there are many tools. And one of the inspirations for us this year, in addition to recording and making this album, was also to create a community online that we've been building for years offline. And now we've created it online for this very thing that you're talking about, which is integration, integration of awakenings that we've had, of insights, also of questions we have about life, of our trauma that's keeping us not living our full life, of pain or fear or mental challenges, patterns of our minds, of our ego, of our family of origin, of our ideologies that don't serve us. All these things are such deep roots of passion for Howard and I, because of how we have suffered and struggled ourselves through the jungle of life, through the jungle of our minds. And we were seeking and searching, sometimes with joy and sometimes screaming out to life, please help me, I don't know what to do, kind of place. And so we've created courses for support for the community. We offer meditation group. We are working on writing our story right now too, because we just know that, I know for me, when I've heard of others' stories that have been like mine, they give me hope. When I'm in the depths of my suffering, I read or I am inspired by others and I say, it's possible. I can climb out of this. And this is what they did. I'm going to try that. Or this is what, they suggest to do. I'm going to try that. And don't give up, because sometimes maybe, macrobiotics works for you, or it works for a season. And then maybe Ayurveda works for the lifetime or a season. It's okay. One of the things that Howard and I both have noticed and observed in our lives and in others is that we don't have to drop anchor anywhere. We can drop anchor for the time that we need it, not in a cavalier way, but just
Right.
in the sense of, I don't have to become this in my identity. I can glean from, learn from, give back to the paths that have given to me hope and tools for support and healing. And then when it's time for me to grow and move on, I can, that it's okay, that I can leave with a deep bow of gratitude and open to new ways of learning and growing. And that's what Howard and I are in the process of right now as musicians, as ceremonial builders, as guides, as teachers, if you will, that we're listening, because what we've been doing for the past decade or so is changing and shifting. And to be willing and open to say, okay, life, I trust you. It's scary. It's unknown. We may not have the security that we had financially or emotionally leading up to COVID, but we're going to open ourselves and say yes to this new path that's inviting us, in a sense. It's a bumpy, sometimes turbulent road, but music for us is a huge thread of guidance, of peace, of wisdom, and of insight that we listen to and we follow, and we're so grateful for. And so that's why we want to share it too, what it's done for us.
And as
Well,
much as I like words, for me, music communicates in a way that words can't. Just to add that.
That is so beautifully said, and what a thing. It's like that, the, music, which can include words, has a way of communicating and a way of touching us. And I just want to acknowledge for both of you, your vulnerability and sharing your own practice, your own journey, your own healing, and the dedication of the work that you bring to put this music out into the world, which is not insignificant, right? To put together an album is labor of so much love and sweat and dedication. And you've described some of that in our conversation. So I'd like to acknowledge that. And, please, everyone, please do buy this album, because it is another way that we support each other to buy music. So please buy it, and please support yourself by listening to it. And please remember that connection to the self is a daily practice. And if you're feeling off center, just bring it back and look for these places of where music and these things can help us reconnect, and to give us a language that is beyond the language of words. This language of connection, this language of spirit, this language of healing, and this language of what it means to be a human. So thank you both for this conversation. The album is releasing on the 20th or the 21st?
Friday, the 21st.
Friday, May 21st, right?
Yeah.
So some of you may be watching this while the album is already out. Some of you were kind of excited and anticipating, and I'll put some links in the chat for everyone to buy the album. But what's your website? Is there a last thing that you want to share with us? Where should people go to learn more about you and the work that you're doing if they don't already know you?
Yeah, you can come to inaandhoward.com, or we're on social media, Ina V and Howard Lipp. And I also want to say thank you, Felicia, to carving out time and space in this moment that we're all living to have a conversation and to give us a chance and an opportunity to share what we're passionate about. And I value what you have been passionate about all these years, and the harrowing ride of running a magazine and sharing it with the community, and sharing all of the ways in which people can connect to have tools of meditation and yoga and Ayurveda, all the commitment that you've given. And I know that it's a transitional time right now. And so I just want to say that I see you, and I support you, and I'm grateful for all that you've done over the years for the larger community, not just in LA, but so many yoga community circles and beyond. So thank you for that, and for having us today.
Because I have to say, we've seen your magazine on every continent we've traveled to.
Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
it's always a reminder.
Mhm.
Yeah. So thank you for the work that you've done. And we also want to thank the great mystery in all its forms, in every aspect, the stones, the rocks, the insects, the animals, the birds, the fish, mammals of the sea, and all the other interdimensionals, visible and invisible, for creating this incredible experience for us to grow and learn and be supported and support each other. And the more we learn that we're here to love and take care of each other, just like all of life does, the better our experience can be. As we start to peel away consensus reality to see actual reality, the beauty is that we're here and we can do this. And the only way we do it well is together.
Mm.
So beautifully said. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I look forward to staying connected. And, you know, as this is an invitation for all of us in our global community to find ways to continue to support each other and to support our ability to connect to ourselves. So thank you. And